hold on, I'll do that. Yeah, hope you are able to see my slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I
Yes, sir.
request all of them to mute. Thank you. From the first session, what I'm able to understand, everyone was a mute spectator. No one was asking the question. It is very boring or not. So I don't want to keep my second session like this. I don't want to keep my second session only I speak and close it up. So I want more interaction. So I want people to come up and ask questions. So in view of that, I'm not going to present to you for for a longer time. I'll just keep my presentation very short. Let's have a more interactions. Then only the kind of STP will be more. Yeah. Yes. I'm getting a lot of noise. Could you please?
2% கொடுக்கலாமா 2% கொடுக்கலாமா 50% ஆகனா அவரோட காணா திரும்ப அவனே கேட்டேன்
Okay, who is this Theork and research, please? Mute yourself.
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Okay, sir. Sorry, you can start now, sir.
Yeah. Could you please mute, sir, everyone? Thank you. Thank you. So I want to keep this session more meaningful. So let's have more discussion and interactions. So in order to make use of this STTP organized by Kamraj Institute, I would request all the participants to be more interactive rather than being a mute spectator. So this session is more of very generic ideas. I'm going to give you proposal ideas for you to write a project proposals for the funding agency. That's one aspect. Another use of this presentation will be of people can who wanted to do a PhD or who wanted to guide a PhD student, they can use these ideas. So with the there are two kind of additive manufacturing, probably metals and the polymer related. So in metal you have powder bed or powder feed or wire feed methods, like using laser or electron beam. In wire feed is like a wire arc additive manufacturing, like electron beam or laser beam or plasma arc or electric arc is used. And on the other side, polymers, they're like photopolymerization, fused deposition modeling, material jetting, digital light processing, fused filament fabrications, laminated object manufacturing. These are the polymer techniques are available. I'm not going to talk about polymer because its usage in aircraft is very, very limited. Very less usage is there as a polymer. Polymer matrix composite is there, but not as a polymer it is used. So hence, these three technology is not that useful for the aerospace industry. That's why my focus is on metals. Okay, there are two ways you can use this additive manufacturing. One is to build a new component, like the one what I talked about, laser powder bed fusion in the last lecture, wherein a new part development, people generally use laser powder bed fusion. There are variety of manufacturers throughout different countries. Mainly US you can find 3D system is one of the popular one, and in Germany you can find Concept Laser and EOS, and if you go to Japan, Matsura, and if you go to again Germany, Realizer is there, UK Renisha, and SLM Solutions in German again. So out of these 3D system, SLM Solution, EOS are very popular, and in India you find only EOS machines because they have good market penetrations. Okay, that is for the new part development. Suppose if you want to salvage the part or repair the parts, people use direct energy deposition or direct laser deposition methods, like wire arc additive manufacturing or laser powder blown or laser metal deposition methods. See, in all the cases, powder or wire is a raw material, laser or electron beam is the input energy, one, and powder may be spreaded or thrown into laser. That is what powder bed method or powder blown method. So you can see the right side image where laser will be scanned through the powders, melt, form the layers. Okay, and the left side image show you the laser powder bed fusion. You have a building platform and you have a powder feeder which will layer the powder of certain thickness. Laser will melt it layer by layer and build a component. One layer is melted, then building platform will be lowered to the same thickness level. The next layer will be spread and melted. So this entire thing is automated and controlled by the instrumentation, which is again getting the input from the CAD drawing how to build the component. So that's a very simple process. Okay, and highlights, you will get a very fine grain size. Nanoscale also is possible in metal additive manufacturing. You can also develop a metal matrix composites in situ wise or ex situ wise. So those are the advantages you have in the metal additive manufacturing. So now I'll get into the real presentation. What are the project proposal ideas you can write? Okay, I have made my sessions in slides in alloy wise, like aluminium, titanium, superalloy, and steel. These are used in the aircraft and aero engine and missiles and helicopters. Okay, so in funding proposals, so no one will just fund whatever you write. The generally funding agency will look at whether your proposal has certain value in terms of outcome. Whether this proposal's idea outcome, can I use it for some application? They will look at it, and what is the applicability of the the proposal? They will see it. Okay, I'll just give you two seconds. I'll just get us some water and come.
So I request the participants to interact with Dr. Ram Prabhu. So he is the right person. So I request once again the participants to have interaction at the end of session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So now we'll have interaction maybe 20-25 minutes later. I'll first close the presentation, then we will start. So we'll look at first aluminium alloy, which is the light dense one, not only used in the aircraft or missiles, helicopters, it is also used in automobile nowadays coming up, especially in electrical vehicles to reduce the density of the component. So looking at the aluminium, funding proposal agency will see, okay, where all aluminium used. First you should know as a funding proposal writer. Okay, so you should understand that aluminium alloy cannot be used to more than 120 degrees Celsius in ambience, and sea atmosphere you can use it, and stress acting on the component should be in the range of 150 to 250 MPa. When these requirements are met, in those locations only designer choose aluminium alloy. So this is irrespective of the applications, whether automobile or aircraft or any other industries, gas and oil industry. So you have to keep in your mind, you cannot use this alloy more than 120 because strength will reduce significantly. These alloys are generally strengthened by precipitation or age hardening processes, and aging temperature is usually 150. That is why it is limited. Okay. Now, when you write a funding project, you should specifically define in your funding proposal what is the application, specific application. You should not write generally aerospace or the automobile or the gas and oil industry. You should go to the nitty-gritty, like you have to go to the clear application of the part. See, for example, aluminium alloy, if you see, now it is used in the, I'm here compiled only the aircraft applications. Okay, you can also see other applications. Okay, so in aircraft, if you see aircraft, you can classify based on its speed or the Mach number. You can say it is a subsonic or sonic or supersonic or hypersonic aircraft. If an aircraft of subsonic or sonic or supersonic, okay, you can use aluminium alloy as a structural airframe materials, and same applies to unmanned aerial vehicle also. So what I mean to say here is, if your airframe or the aircraft runs at the speed of less than 1 Mach number or equal to 1 or less than 2, that is subsonic, sonic and supersonic, those aircrafts, airframes, you can use aluminium alloys. Again, in the airframe, what are the application? If you see, there are variety of applications like wing spare, bulkhead, floor panel, fin, brackets, fuselage frames, landing gears, gearbox, fuel and electrical pipelines, engine internal guidelines in the front portion, missile structures. These are the applications is there. Next is when you write a proposal, you should know what are the alloys are printable. If you see currently industry wise, these three grades are successful: aluminum 10S AMG, aluminum 12, and aluminum 357. And the bracket values are UTS values. Next question will come in your mind, sir, these machines are costing around 2 crore to 5 crore. How am I, what should I do in my proposals? So my suggestion is, instead of buying the material and do the process optimization, why don't you, buy the samples outside printed from the industry and explore the different properties as a proposal, so that it will not cost you more than, in your project proposals more than 3-4 lakhs. Okay, so my proposal ideas are based on that. And if you remember, when I talked about the last lecture, I told laser have huge scattering. So suppose a mechanical engineer who has interest in laser engineering, they can identify the laser which is best for the aluminium alloy, which has a better absorbability, you can see. And aluminium alloys are strengthened by precipitation hardening. I told you, like, you do the solution treatment, quenching and aging. This is applicable in the traditional alloy, but how about in additively manufactured alloy? It's not explored yet. So you can explore that, and and corrosion studies, especially stress corrosion cracking, you can study on the aluminium alloy. And fatigue is another area where you can fabricate the sample, you can develop a SN curve, and you can understand where the fatigue crack initiates, how it propagates. Those aspects you can explore. And fracture toughness is another area, we call it K1C. These properties are not reliably standardized for these additively printed aluminium alloys, so you can work on it. And pitting corrosion is another issue in the aluminium alloys, and we use various anodizing, chromatizing, coating scheme to prevent the corrosion in the aluminium alloy. But these, when you try to use the same technique what you have used for traditionally processed aluminium alloy, it may not work for additively manufactured. Reason is the process here is a non-equilibrium process, very fast, rapid heating and rapid cooling. Develop a non-equilibrium microstructure, very fine scale microstructure. In those microstructure, the conventional coating skills may or may not apply. So you can explore that itself as a single project, like anodizing scheme for additively printed so and so alloy. It's itself a PhD proposals. Then I told nanograin size development is possible, so you can sit with the vendor and supplier and tell that they improve the process, enhance the process parameter. It will give you a high solidification cooling rate, so that I can develop a nanograin structure in my material. Or you can also induce through developing a powder particle such a way that it will induce the nanograin development during solidification only. And as I said, like, conventional alloys are used up to 120 degrees Celsius. Is it possible for me to develop a additively printed material which can withstand higher temperature? So you can do some modeling studies and come up with a new alloy grades. And most importantly, process map you can design based on the 5 important process parameters: laser power, laser scanning, speed, scanning strategy, inert gas atmosphere, build preheat temperature. Vary these process parameter for a particular grade and establish the process parameter which will give you the highest property in the component, at the same time no defects in the component. So that is a one good exercise you can do it. And you can go for much lighter aluminium alloy like aluminium lithium alloys and certain wrought alloy grades you can explore. And of course fasteners applications like rivets, you can, whether it is possible to 3D print, you can explore those aspects, or what other things can be done, you can explore. So these are the area you can write a proposal. So now you see here in aluminium alloy I have a 3 grades, and a microstructure, one proposal you can write. Mechanical property I talked about, fatigue, fracture toughness, okay, and two proposals you can write. So totally 3 multiplication. In bracket you have microstructure 1 and mechanical property 3, that is 4 total, and corrosion 2, 6. In process wise on another 2, 8, and material wise another 3, 11 into 3, 33 proposals you can write, okay, in aluminium alloy alone. And again you can, specific to the applications, you can fine tune the proposals with the applicability. So you can come up to 50 different proposals in the aluminum alloy alone. I'm talking about in 3 grades. Okay, so if you go multiple different grades, then you can enhance the number of proposals in this area. Now titanium alloy we will see. First start with the applicability, where it can be used. Aluminium 120 degree. If you want to use beyond 120 degree, you should go for the titanium alloy. Up to 500 degree, it is stable. Properties are stable up to 500 degree, and load acting on any component like blades or disc or whatever, up to 700 MPa you can expose at 500 degrees Celsius. Applications in the airframe, unlike sonic, subsonic, supersonic, you can go for much higher speed aircraft like hypersonic. Same applications of wing spar, bulkhead, fuselage frames. Okay. Then in addition, any high strength fasteners can be a titanium alloy, and helicopter blades leading edges are titanium alloys, and pylons to hold all the ammunitions like rocket, missiles, bombs in the aircraft. Those pylons, connecting points, are titanium alloys. Propulsion tanks, inner layer and outer layers are titanium alloys in missiles. And aero engine 50% materials, especially total compressors, are titanium alloys like blade, disc, and so on. And looking at the industry, what are the alloys successful are titanium 6 aluminum 4 vanadium and titanium 6 aluminum 4 vanadium with extra low interstitial and commercial pure titanium alloy. The bracket values are UTS. Now, what are the proposals you can write in this? If you see, now let's look at microstructure. These alloys as an external crystal structure. So as a material intrinsically it will form the texture. So you seen last lecture I have talked about texture extensively in aluminium alloy. Whether texture has formed, whether it is started hardening the material or weakening the material. Whereas in aluminium we didn't find any texture, but titanium will have a strong texture. It may weaken or strengthen the material. And the process itself will form the columnar grain structure which will cause the texture. So you have dual effect. Material intrinsic nature and the process nature, both will form the texture in the titanium alloys. You can do the extensive study by using EBST and XRD, electron backscatter diffraction and X-ray diffractions. And these alloys are strengthened through solution treatment and aging, which will form the different phases in the titanium alloys like alpha, beta, alpha dash, martensite, athermal martensite, alpha double dash martensite, and its shape, morphology, amount affect the properties. And traditionally processed titanium alloys, it is established, whereas for the additively processed titanium alloys, still people are exploring how the heat treatment is going to influence the mechanical properties. And again, these alloys are used in the application like aero engine, where low cycle fatigue is very dominant, so you can develop a low cycle fatigue curve. And titanium alloys are prone to stress, corrosion, cracking, and hydrogen embrittlement corrosion problems. And these alloys are used at 500 degrees Celsius, so you have to study the hot corrosion effects in different ambience other than chloride, like sulfide, ammonia, hydroxide atmosphere. And 500 degrees Celsius it will oxidize, so you can study the oxidation effects. And in order to improve the corrosion, oxidation, and other issues, degradation issues like wear issues and erosion issues, you can develop a coatings, different coatings. Just to buy a sample of 100 mm length and 10 mm diameter, you can do the one solid paper, research paper, just by buying a simple sample of 100 mm, cut into 3 pieces and run the wear test or the erosion test. Okay, and in that one sample you give coating and run the similar experiment, and you can tell about whether coating is effective or not. Or you can study the same sample with hot corrosion in a different bath. You put it, increase the temperature, change the ambience, and you see how the hot corrosion happened. Okay, these are within 5,000, 10,000 rupees you can finish up one nice beautiful SCA paper from the 3D printing. The advantage with 3D printing, since there are no much papers are available, easy to publish. Unlike composites, tons of papers are there, so whatever you do, people reject your papers, either MMC or PMC. Whereas additive manufacturing, even a small bit of piece of work with a few samples, you just cut the few samples and expose them into different corrosion study or erosion study, you can come up with a wonderful papers. And suppose you don't have much machine in your company or the college, what you can do the notch sensitivity study, notch tensile behavior of the material. Take a same tensile coupon and create the notch with a different stress concentration and study whether the material printed by 3D printing is notch sensitive or not. So you can refer some of my paper which talks about notch tensile behavior of magnesium alloy. Same thing you can mimic in titanium alloys. So you can here itself you have about some 30 to 40 proposals with respect to material and with respect to phenomena. Suppose you wanted to study a little more, deeper. So you can study, combine the fatigue with corrosion fatigue. Even in the fatigue crack growth studies and fracture toughness you can study. And you can also explore developing your intermetallics, because intermetallics are more stable and high temperature resistance. You can go up to 700 degrees Celsius. And advantages when you add aluminium, density comes down. So both advantages are there. And suppose you want to work on smart material like shape memory alloy, you can alloy with nickel and make the powder and 3D print it and see the behavior. And beta titanium alloy or fasteners also you can work on titanium alloys. Now come to the super alloys. Okay, it has a very specific application in the aero engine and some high-tech applications like nuclear industries and metal forming industries. It has the applications, not on the airframe or the air structures. Applications. Anything system which exposed to temperature higher than the titanium, that is 850 or 900 degree or 1000 degree range, you have to invariably go super alloy, because this is the one alloy which is stable up to 900,000 degrees Celsius. Your steel is up to 300 only, your titanium 500, aluminium 150. Okay, and stress and the temperature is 300 to 500. So if your focus is on high temperature application like combustion chamber, turbine blade, casings, discs, or nuclear industry reactor, internal components and missiles base schedule, heating elements in your metal forming industry, forging and extrusion industry, the dies and tools, these all are generally super alloys. Okay, super alloys are very successful in additive manufacturing because it is very costly. Any complex shape can be achieved in additive manufacturing. So they combined these two and made super alloy, focused research on 3D printing. Several alloys were successful like Inconel 719, 625, custom grade, cobalt chromium alloy, hard alloys. These all are successful in 3D printing. Now proposals, you can have a variety of proposals you can try, mostly focused on high temperature because it is a high temperature material. There is no point in doing room temperature testing on that. What are the things you can do? So heat treatment studies like precipitation hardening studies, and understand the phases formed like gamma, ordered phases like gamma, gamma prime, gamma double prime, delta, eta, lavis, topologically close packed planes, carbide and borate formation along the grain boundary and its influence on the mechanical property you can study. This is a simple, do the heat treatment, do the microstructure study by using SEM, TEM, XRD and simple optical microscope. You can finish this work and complete with a nice PhD work doing on the different alloy and different heat treatment conditions. And you can work on low cycle fatigue and thermal fatigue because it is used at high temperatures. And at high temperature material creep, so you can study the stress rupture and creep. And high temperature material undergo the hot corrosion in different ambience. Okay, and since here it is used at 850. If you want to use it at 1200, 1300, what you can do, you can apply the thermal barrier coating based on rare earth oxides like yttrium, stabilized zirconia or gadolinium, zirconium oxide or aluminates. Okay, and study the coating effects, how whether it has improved the thermal capability or thermal resistance at higher temperatures through thermal cycling test and other tests. Okay, and you can also pitch for developing a new super alloy grades for additive manufacturing. And if you are interested in design, you can make a complex geometry with the cooling channels so that it can push the temperature from 850 to higher degrees. And you can also work on grain architecture, like you can develop a columnar grain from root to the tip. Okay, called the columnar directionally solidified grains, or the single crystal you can develop to improve the creep and stress rupture properties. Fritting wear study you can do and apply the coating like cobalt, tungsten or copper, nickel, indium to see that whether fritting wear resistance has improved or not. Hot corrosion or erosion studies you can conduct and you can also apply carbide coatings and to see that whether erosion resistance and corrosion resistance at higher temperature is improved or not, you can study. And in order to improve the oxidation resistance, you can coat with a noble metal like platinum, aluminium kind of stuff. studies you can do that. So here also you see 4 alloys, about some 15 different ideas, 4 into 15, about 60 proposals can be evolved. Coming to the steels, general steels, what you find in automobile is not used in the aerospace. But there are some special steels are used, like 17.4 precipitation hardenable steel, 17% chromium and 4% nickel. Then 15.5 precipitation hardenable steel, martensite aging called maraging steel, stainless steel 316L, that is 18.8 stainless steel custom grades. The bracket values are UTS values. These all grades are very successful in additive manufacturing. Just if you go to the market, you can buy the samples of 100 mm by 10 mm dia about 10,000 rupees. I mean, with respect to the grade, the value varies from 5,000 to 10,000 rupees. And even one piece of sample you buy, just to do the microstructure study and the wear study itself will come with a beautiful paper. Or you go for some other studies like hot corrosion or hot erosion or erosion, wear studies at lubrication conditions. So n number of things can be done just buying a simple sample. Just you need to know, buy a sample, what is the process parameter. That's enough for you to understand things. And you can do the coating studies also. Enormous number of things can be done on that. Now looking at the steels, where it is used in the aerospace, if you see, high strength joints, landing gear parts like wheel axles, lever, direction bar, door plugs, slot tracks. Okay, the same application is there in the automobile also, where you can use it, only cost is high. And all the transmission systems like shaft, actuators, gears, pinions, like automobile, in aerospace also, still it's steel, but it is a special steels. And automobile high-end cars also you can find the steels. Chemical processing industry, where corrosion resistance is very important, where stainless steels are used. And biomedical industry like surgical tools are generally stainless steels. And the applicability, if you see, up to 300 to 350 degrees Celsius only you can use steel. Beyond that, it will degrade. And the corrosion is another issue. So you cannot use it in the corrosive ambience. So proposals, what you can write, as you know very well, like steel can be strengthened through martensite formation by quenching and tempering. So you can work on those heat treatment studies. And fatigue properties like high cycle, low cycle for the shaft, gear, pinion, you can study. Corrosions, invariably all type of corrosion you can study, like general, salt spray, electrochemical, stress corrosion cracking, hydrogen embrittlement. And you can also work on what are the protection mechanism like coating and platings you can work. And you can also channelize your energy to develop a low cost, high strength, low alloy steels, like high strength low alloy steels, transformation induced plasticity, twin induced plasticity steels. Although it is not available currently, but you can pitch in, make a powder, and you can print it and see the things. And impact studies are very important because steels are prone to ductile to brittle transition temperature. So it is simple. You take a sample, Charpy or Hazard, and test it at room temperature and sub-zero temperature by using the liquid nitrogen, and see the behavior and study the microstructure and so on. Notch sensitivity, I told you, like make a tensile samples, make a notch with a different stress concentration, and study the tensile behavior in the same UTM itself will come with a very nice paper. And in that paper, you can study the fractography, and you can see how the crack propagated by using SEM. And you can also study XRD to know what kind of chemical composition distribution inside. And lastly, these proposals are very common to all the materials, all the metallic materials and alloys. So as I said earlier, like powders has a huge influence on mechanical properties. So you can draft the proposal to understand the powder characteristics, like what is the optimum size, shape, size distribution, flow rate, and its impact on the properties and defect generation you can study. And inert gas effect, like I told you, argon is generally used, but you can also use nitrogen, you can also use helium. Yeah, okay, you can use the combination of argon, nitrogen, and things like how you see in the welding. Okay, similar way you can also study on the inert gas effect, which inert gas is better for which alloy, and how its influence on property and defects you can study. And the two challenging problem in the any additive manufacturing metal are just a second. Hey Rega. One is anisotropy and residual stresses. Like residual stresses are inevitable in additive manufacturing. Anisotropy due to grain formation, like a property variation with respect to direction. These two are the challenging problem in any additive manufacturing of metals. So how in industry people mitigate this problem. One is following the different scanning strategy. So I told you like 67-degree angle rotating stripe. Some may follow island scattering, like some particular randomized island scattering strategy they follow. Then some people laser rescanning they will do with lower energy to minimize the anisotropy and residual stresses. And and the substrate also will be preheated by using induction methods to enhance the build plate preheating and residual stresses. Okay, and you can also work on optimization technique to arrive at process parameter optimization, though it is very costly. But this also work as a part of the proposal if you are going for a crores level projects. And NDT is another area where you can work on and identify the NDT technique which is suitable for additive manufacturing. And like currently CT scan is used, but it's very costly. But you can also develop some methods which will be much more better than this or equivalent to the CT scan, but at the same time less expensive one you can identify. And the microstructure studies, n number of things you can study in microstructure by using EBSD, XRD, TEM-SEM optical microscope, and atomic core microscope, and so on. And power source effect like laser and electron beam on the same material, how it influences the property, defects, and other parameters you can study. And if you are a little more keen on tailoring the material, like functionally graded materials, like by using bimetal or trimetal fusions, and you can study its property and defects. And lastly, section thickness effects, like if I fabricate the component with a wall thickness of 5 and wall thickness of 10, whether the property variation is there or not. Those aspects also you can study in the metal additive manufacturing. So if you look at now around, I would have given you around some 300 to 400 different proposals, ideas. Now you can pick up the proposal ideas, and based on the funding you seek, or based on the costing, you can explore those projects for your PhD or the your own research work funded by the funding agency or internally by your institutions. So with this, I want to close it. I want to have a good discussion maybe for another 15 to 20 minutes. So with that, I will close my presentation and let's have a discussions. Thank you.
Okay. So it's nearly more than 300 ideas we have got from Dr. Ramprabhu. So to begin with, I have a few questions from my side before all the participants will start.
Please, sir.
So one of the question is that from all the young researchers is that what sort of expectation is I think the basic requirement for submitting a proposal. So what the evaluators are actually looking for.
Right. So let me open one proposal, format, then I'll explain. Just give me a second, sir. I will open it and I will add it and I'll show you. So you'll have idea.
Okay.
Okay. So the recently one proposal what I want to show you is this, like which I have evaluated, but don't quote it anywhere because it is the IP of another person. And just for the information, I'm sharing it. You are able to see the Word document?
Yes,
So essentially, first two I will leave it because to hide the person's name. And so you see that year, how many years you are proposing. So based on that, your funding should be there. Okay. Like 3 years means how much, and 2 year mean how much, and 1 year mean how much. That based on that, your proposal stuff has to be there. There should be clarity.
So we could not see that.
You are not able to see?
We could not see. Yes, sir. We cannot see.
Sir, it's visible, sir.
Visible, sir. Visible.
It is visible, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's visible. Okay.
Let's say it is for 3 years, like you should you would have seen in the most of the proposals the the grant under which this is given. The matrix should be very clear and neat, like how much you are going to spend on your research staff and equipment and consumable and TATA. All those information should be pakka and proper and with a justification. That is very, very important. Okay, you cannot just put some random number and arrive at a big figure. The moment they see a big number, they will have a more scrutiny. Like if you put here 1 crore, so the scrutiny is extremely too much. Whereas if you put like let's say 4 lakh rupees or 5 lakh rupees, the scrutiny will be less intensive. And next is they will see you are going to do alone or you are going to do with some partners or the collaborators. And very importantly, they will look at it the summary of your work, what you are proposing. That's where their hands will come. Here, what I told you, it should come like what is the applicability, what is the specific application you target, and what is your deliverables after doing 1 year or 2 year or 3 years. Okay, so here you can see as the last line, he has given gas turbine engine parts. Very categorically is given. Alloy is very specific, process is very specific, and the outcome also very, very specific. So they will look at this, and if you read this these things, it has a very clear applications. Tomorrow, if you deliver something from your project, those things I will directly implement in my product development in the industry scale. So that is what their objective in the project funding agency. Okay, so you can see the objective is very clearly, yeah, point by point will be there. So in this work they do optimization of the process parameter, microstructure. Finally, they will do the critical comparison with the existing one additively manufactured with the existing wrought alloy to show that whatever the outcome they brought as a shows the more importance that it can be implemented in the industry right away. So that they are trying to prove. So what I'm trying to tell from this objective and summary is whatever the work you have undertaken as a clear outcome, stating that can be implemented in the application straight away. That is what you have to prove through your proposals. Your proposal should have that much sound. Okay. Then you will be giving the background and justification how you are going to attempt your problems. Okay, that will run about 3-4 pages. What are the different things you will be doing during your proposal? So you should have a clear roadmap of your proposal. You should not like make the proposal and tomorrow you will invent what is the procedure to be followed. That is not acceptable by the funding agency. And they will also see the deliverable, clear point by point deliverables with respect to years. You are doing 3 years means first year what is the deliverable, whether you met or not, second year, third year, whether it is achievable in that 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, because they have the experience to understand whatever you are promising is the doable or not. They will clearly catch that. Okay, you cannot like put something which is not realizable. So you please keep in mind. And very important things, they will see whether you are seeking the facilities from the funding agency to do any work, or you have in-house facility. Usually they'll give preference to the people who has in-house facility. They don't encourage just funding the mission and get it done from you. Rather they will fund for the government agency that rather than funding you, because government agency is like government to government money is going, it's not going to the private. Whereas in the private means after some year you will own the mission, so they don't encourage that. So always you have the setup with you or with your near approachable manner, then you propose it. Don't seek any facility from the funding agency as a private institution. It is difficult to get. It is not impossible, but difficult to get. And they will also see, very importantly, have you done any previous work in that proposed area to see that whether you have a ability and capability on the subject. Okay, then very importantly, they will look at your biography. Okay, and in there are 2-3 aspects they will see. I will close it this is 2-3 aspects. What they will see is where you have studied, what are the publications you have, okay, and what is your work experience, whether it has any relevance to the proposal idea you are proposing. Okay, additive manufacturing, you may tell, sir, this is a new area, people have not done much, I can have a publication in that area. or my master's thesis or PhD thesis in that area. So in those aspects, what you can do, the allied area, additive manufacturing has, is born from, combination of the powder metallurgy and welding. Okay, when you join these 2-3 things and customize it, the additive manufacturing was born. So you should have at least experience in those area or the material characterization area. Suppose you work on design and propose the project and material characterization is straight away rejected, stating that you don't have the experience and may not have the ability to do that. And if you have a degree from IITs or NITs or the abroad, it is always a plus point for you, but it is not a mandatory one. And if you have more number of publications of only SCI journals, okay, that is Science Citation Index, then you will be you'll be given more weightage, okay, because you have already delivered so much, so they have a faith on you to provide you the fundings. Okay, so either you should have a good degree or at least you should have a publications of high quality. See, even if you have a high quality publication of 5, it is equivalent to having 1000 publications from Scopus. So always I insist on my student also, others also, that try to publish more than 2 impact factor, at least more than 1 impact factor from Science Citation Index to 1, not the paid journal or the Scopus journals or the conference journals. Okay, I hope I answered your question in a very elaborate manner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I have a second question from my side that about the metal additive manufacturing facilities which is available in Tamil Nadu or nearby, because plastics, lot of polymer material, lot of facilities are there.
Yes, yes.
For metals, I think it's very limited. So can you share your experience as far as where we can go and we can approach?
Yes, yes. See, metal machines in Bangalore, I know. Bangalore, we have Wipro, Rapid DMLS, Intech, and in North, I know Kalyani Additives. These are the little big firms. They have additive manufacturing machines. In Coimbatore, I was told Stratsys is there in Coimbatore. Chennai also, I found a few small companies. They have bought machines and trying to do the additive manufacturing. So I have a couple of contacts. So if anyone wants any material, you be in touch with me. I will try to connect you with those people, and we can acquire the material at least, and you can plan your experiments accordingly. And if you enable my chat, I will send you my email ID and phone number so people can touch with me if they need any help and technical. I'm not able to unlock my chat. Actually, chat box is disabled for me.
Since you're not actually, we haven't had you like that, we'll send you the mail IDs to the participants.
Right, right. So you can send my email ID and phone number to the participants so that they can be in touch with you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We'll send that, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, another question from my side also that whether a collaboration with another institution is mandatory for a proposal?
I would not say it's mandatory. I would say if other institutions have a good capability, always joining with others will be more strong. You will become more strong. So because you're going to share the work and you will be meeting the timeline, and these profile also will add a big weightage to your proposal. So it is desirable, not mandatory. Assuming you have strong, subject knowledge and things, then you don't need a collaboration.
Okay. So now the participants, you can ask questions.
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Sir, I have a general question. Industrial persons, software engineers can apply for proposal.
Industry persons can apply for the proposals, okay, and provided they meet the requirements of doctorate and other things.
Okay, sir.
So most of the industry people may not have the doctorate, so that's where they have a disadvantage. Second is industry person, instead of going for these academic project proposals, they can go for the product development kind of things. Like, there is a scheme called, technology fund, DRDO technology fund. There they encourage this industry to come up with the product. For that they will give the funding. So that would be more useful for them rather than getting into this kind of academic work, because they don't have that ability like academicians.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, your both sessions are so nice, sir. Especially second session, I like so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sir?
Yes.
Morning, sir.
Sir.
My voice. Sorry.
Yes, sir, you can go, sir. You can ask Ramprabhu, sir.
Sir, hello.
Yeah, please.
Sir, my voice is audible.
Yeah, it's very audible. You
Yes,
tell your
yes, sir.
college and start.
Sir, so this is Dirka Darsanan. So I'm pursuing a PhD on metal background. So first of all, I would thanks to you for giving such a wonderful lecture among us. Then I have one question from process optimization, sir. So I have asked the same question in previous session. I think I asked the same question in yesterday's session. That's what shall we control the speed of the metal additive manufacturing, sir? Why? Because I asked to the same question in yesterday resource person. He said me that still now there is no chance to control the speed, and also there is no control or there is no evaluate the speed. Only they will fix the speed on additive manufacturing. So in this situation, I ask to you, suppose if I vary the speed of the metal additive manufacturing, what will happen on the material properties, sir?
Right. So you are from which college, sir?
Sir, Teni Kamavar Sangam College of Technology, Teni district.
Very nice, very nice. Sir, first thing is, I don't know why that research person told that like that, but scanning speed is one of the important parameter which should be controlled. You can have high or low depending on the material. Okay, first thing. And second thing is, what will happen? It's very simple to understand. Let's say my scanning speed is faster. Okay, what is going to happen? You are moving your laser very fast. Let's say you melt it. Okay, the melt pole is formed, and if you go very fast, the melt pole, the time t equal to let's say 1 microsecond, it is at a temperature of 1000 degree. Because of your speed is so fast, the time t equal to 2 microsecond, it would have gone somewhere away from the melt pole. So your melt pole is suddenly exposed to, ambient temperature of room temperature. So there is a huge gradient of thermal gradient, which will cause the rapid solidification and resulting huge residual stresses in the component. Okay, that is one problem. If you have a too high scanning speed, let's say if you have a too low scanning speed means, let's say time t equal to 1 microsecond, you are there. Let's say time t equal to 2 microsecond also, you are there because it is very slow. It means the energy, that heat energy will be there for a longer time in the melt pole, resulting, slow solidification. Like your castings, you will end up with the bigger grains. I mean, coarse grains, which will affect the mechanical property. That is why this parameter like scanning speed should be optimized. It should be how to optimize. You have to do the trial and error, or you can do the simulation. See, nowadays the simulation softwares have come in additive manufacturing also, like a FEM. Okay, FEM based softwares, wherein you can do virtually all the experiments and conclude what is in range which you can operate your scanning speed for a particular metal. Probably that research person would have told, because nowadays industry doesn't do research. You see what industry do? I bought the machine of 2 crore. I want to make more products, and productivity is their concern. It's not the research. What they will do? I'm ready to buy a machine from you. You only supply the material. You only tell process parameter, but you guarantee that if I use this powder and this process parameter, I get the good property and no defect in the component. That is why industry outsource everything to the machine manufacturer, who does all the research there, optimize all the process parameter, whatever I told you, and give it to these people to give a guarantee and warranty on those parameters. If you use, I guarantee you. Okay, for any shapes. That is what happening in the industry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, I have one more question, sir.
Please
Sir,
go,
I ask,
go.
sir,
Any number.
Sir, have any opportunity of for biomachining, sir, by using this metal additive manufacturing? Suppose if I make any one product with coating, so after that, if I apply that product to the ship or any other submerged vehicle, what will happen on the biomachining, sir? I think you got a lot of information from this metal additive manufacturing. So if anyone done the same work in previous year, or suppose if I tell to you, is this new one for you, sir?
Biomachining, I'm hearing first time. Biomachining. I understand you use some kind of germs to do the machining, like it will eat away the metal and something like that. You are planning, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly, sir. Exactly.
But this is the first time I'm coming across. And see, this additive manufacturing is not meant for regular applications. Wherever you want that design flexibility, very complex shapes and very high cost components, only additive manufacturing is used because of the cost and time and effort. Okay, and additive manufacturing is not like a mass production method of manufacturing. Like it will serve only the low order quantity. Unlike in automobiles, per day you need 1,000 parts of crankshaft. You cannot manufacture through additive manufacturing because you need 1,000 machines. Okay, so those challenges are there. I have not come across anyone using biomachining aspects in the ship hull applications of additively printed. Even in the ship also, additively manufactured components are not fitted because ship mostly use steel, which is very cheap. Additive manufacturing is not for the cheap metals. It is mainly meant for the high-end metals like super alloys, refractory metals, and so on.
So thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you have more questions, sir. Shall I ask, sir?
Good.
Sir, suppose if I made any one product with metal additive manufacturing with coating, where I can conduct the VS test in the cryogenic medium, sir. Suppose if I want to conduct the VS test in cryogenic medium, where I can find the process? Because I was attend another one program in IEC Bangalore. You know, the well person, that's what Professor Bikramjit with Basu organized that program. So really, I'm enjoyed. But still now, I couldn't find out the such a type of lab, sir. So
let's use our logics to do that experiment. Let's say you have pin and disk. Okay, you should have one pin and disk. Let's say you do the test for 50 minutes or 20 minutes. What you essentially need, you need one cover of pin and machines, pin and disk, that region where you are doing the testing, and you need one hose to make a liquid nitrogen to flow through the hose, and let you pour that liquid nitrogen on the disk where you are doing the wear test. So it is nothing but the cryogenic wear test, right? This is what you need to do it. Why do you look for the facility? You yourself can design that facility. If you have a pin and disk machines with little certain customization, you can achieve that cryogenic wear test in your own house, in-house only.
Sir, thank you, sir. So really, I got an enjoyable answer from you. So my heartfelt thanks to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. You be in touch with me. I understand you are keen on
so
research.
Definitely, sir. I will contact you through mail, and also I will contact you through LinkedIn, sir. Sir, are you in LinkedIn contact? Sir?
You take my WhatsApp number. It is available with Prithvi. Prithvi, you can take.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Yes, sir.
You, sir.
I'll share you, sir. Sir, I'll share to you, sir.
Okay. So thank you, sir. I'm mostly expecting your valuable guidance in future. Thank you, sir.
Definitely.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Sir, since in Deep South we are actually working on majorly on polymer composites.
Okay.
Is there any possibility that not on the external surfaces, but rather is there any scope for interior surfaces of the aircraft so that we can implement that polymer composites for interiors? We can initiate our work like that. Since in Deep South, since cost is much more for metals, working on composites. Then is there any scope for that, like that, to start to explore in the aircraft?
No, what applications is the first point. Okay, interior means the aircraft have different parts. First thing is polymer on the metal surface or polymer on other polymer surface. The bonding, you have to look at it. So see, that's what in project proposal I given very clear idea. You should know the applicability and the application. If these two is known, if these two are very clear, then you draft the proposal. Just for the aesthetic purpose or just for the venturing into some idea, you can write a proposal, but I don't know how will be the success rate of the proposals in front of the research board. They will look at very clearly, because I am spending my money for some research activity. If it is not useful to me or not useful to my projects in the like the DRDO or ISRO or any DAE, what point I should fund you? That is the thing that comes in their mind. Whereas academics people, they forget that. They think that, okay, whatever composites, okay, I'll put some composite, natural composite, I'll add coconut shell, I'll add something, okay. But viability you have to see in terms of the processing, in terms of the property, whether it is superior than the existing one. See, sadly, I'm seeing about 1,000 proposals on natural fiber composites, outrightly rejected by all our people because it has the property much poorer than the matrix of the metal. I'm talking about matrix of the composites, polymer matrix composites. We get about 1,500 MPa in strength. Whatever the natural fiber composite they propose, it has only 30 MPa, 40 MPa. Okay, strength. Problem is the academician fail to understand and appreciate the numbers, the magnitude of any properties. They simply do test, whatever the results comes, they say that it is better. That's where the sadness comes because there is a gap between the industry and the academics. So I request all the academicians to appreciate the numbers, read the standards and specifications of the existing one so that you can set your target. That as your target, whatever you get better than that will be the useful to the industry.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. But we do have financial constraints regarding that, so that might be the major concern.
So in those cases, what you have to do, financial constraints, if you have, it is because of more number of tests or the sophisticated material, you originate your project and explore the fundamental aspects and compare with the existing one. Like for example, microstructure. You don't need to spend too much money on that. Hardly within 50,000, 60,000, you can finish your work and win the project in 2 lakh, 3 lakh. But we don't attempt that. We attempt something big, but we don't have a clarity on what is the real requirement, what is the existing, numbers, and how I can get better than that.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. The session was actually really informative, sir. And do you have any list of funding agencies that every year?
Yeah, I have one PDF, so just send me the mail. I'll share it with you. Because
Okay.
if it is Zoom, I can load it, but here chat is not enabled. If chat is enabled, I can share it.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. It was really informative, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prithvi. Any other questions? Prithvi, it looks like I think there are no more questions. Shall we wind up?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. If there's any question, I'll post you, sir.
Yeah, let them send mail so I can reply to their questions. So you can share my email ID. I'll send it to them. Answers. No problem.
Fine, sir. Fine, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Senthil, sir. And thank you, Balni and Shaktivel.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, sir. Sir, thank you for your wonderful contribution towards our AICT sponsored online STTP program, sir. Both the sessions are very informative and really it will be very useful for young researchers. It will be very useful for us, sir, to send the proposals like that. So hope your valuable guidance will help us a lot to become something to achieve in our society, sir. Sir, thank you. So hope this STTP will be going to organize in 3 more phases, sir. Hope we are expecting your sessions in our upcoming phases too, sir.
Definitely. I'll be always there for the Kamaraj Institute of Technology because I share a very warm association with them. And
Sure, sir.
it will be indeed, I'll be thankful to you because you connect with many people. And I wanted to just, my idea is to connect with the different regions of Tamil Nadu and other places. Do some coordinated and mutual research. See, for example, today we had a talk with, I had a question and answer session with Teni, a particular professor, and you are there in some other locations. Likewise, I want to join many people and do the, set up a research work wherein part of the work will be done by different people and combine everything and make us a package and publish a paper or make a project proposal. So those areas I am now working on it. That's why more and more these kind of sessions I am attending and to make a more collaborations in offline.
Yes, sir.
So I welcome all of them who are interested in research to join with me and take my number from the organizers.
Yes,
So with these words, I will conclude my STTP.
Yes,
Maybe we will meet for second and third sessions.
sure, sir. That is the objective of this STTP program, sir. This is Make in India. So hope we can collaborate with the academicians, industry persons, and research organization experts like you. And definitely we could be able to produce some useful products to our nation. So that's our objective also. Yes, sir.
It's a very fantastic point. So we should merge or fill the gap between the academics and the industry so that you will understand what industry needed and industry will exploit your potential.
Yes, sir. So thank you, sir. So
Thank you.
have a nice day, sir. Thank you.
Have a nice day. I'll